Hello and good day, pre-algebra. We are covering CO43 today, writing and solving proportions within measurement units, measurement systems. Answering questions such as how many seconds are in a day, how many feet are in 2 yards, etc., etc. So to start, we're going to kind of be focusing on these three things here: time, distance, and then capacity. Okay, so we're going to fill out this table here. This table can go on a help sheet, which I highly recommend that you do, unless you've got all these conversions memorized, which you might, but if not, then a help sheet will be very helpful. So how many seconds in a minute? How many seconds in a minute, Aiden? 60. This question goes back from one of my favorite teaching stories ever. I asked this question probably 4 or 5 years ago now, and the student raised his hand and he says 70. Said 70 seconds in a minute. Yeah. So when someone asks you to count to a minute, you count to 70. And it says, yeah, but I know I count fast, so I count to 70 to make up for it. So he knew there were 60 seconds in a minute, but he knew also he counted fast, so he just counts to 70 to make up for counting fast. It just struck me as like, that's kind of brilliant, but also kind of, I don't know. Okay. How many minutes in an hour? 60 seconds in a minute. How many minutes in an hour? 60 minutes in 1 hour. How many hours in a day? 24. Check off your square. Job well done. And how many days in a year? 365. Technically 365.25. That's why we have an extra day every 4 years, leap year, but we're not going to get quite that specific. Okay. How many inches in a foot? Inches in a foot, yeah. 12 inches in 1 foot. Feet in a yard. 3 feet in a yard. How many yards in a mile? Connor? Sorry? 572. Not 572. Aiden?
Something like 200.
This one probably you don't think about too often, but you might know the next one. How many feet in a mile? How many feet in a mile? That's a little more common to think about rather than yards in a mile, but how many feet in a mile, Aiden? No, it's not 572. It does have a 5 in it, though, and a 2, actually. Maggie?
Is it 1205?
Not 1205. It does have a 0 in it, though, and a 5, and a 2. Lucas? No, not 502, but you can mark off a square. Annika? No, not 205. We're pretty low here. A mile's pretty big. I mean, a foot is pretty small. A mile's pretty big. Samara? No, not for. We're in the thousands. It should be in the thousands. Yvonne? Oh, no. We'll take one more. Gigi? Close. 5,280 feet in a mile. So this is something that should go on a help sheet. If that was any indication. This should go on a help. 5,280 feet in a mile. So if we don't know yards in a mile, here's our first opportunity of kind of doing these conversions. If we know how many feet are in a mile, and we know how many feet are in a yard, how can we calculate how many yards in a mile? And we're not going to set up a proportion for this, but what is our calculation? If we know feet in a mile, we know feet in a yard, what's our calculation to find yards in a mile? Pierce? Divide by 3. So what is 5,280 divided by 3? 1,760 yards in a mile. Job well done. Okay. And unless you bake, you probably don't know these capacity ones off the top of your head. Maybe you do, but possibly not. If you don't, there's this nice little chart that someone drew up. Wasn't me. I'm not going to take credit for it. But the C's stand for cups. The pints are the P's. Quarts are the Q's, and all that inside of a G, which stands for gallon, right? So if we're looking at how many, well, it doesn't really help with ounces in a cup here, but how many cups in a pint? How many cups in a pint? How many C's are inside of a P, Gavin? That would be inside of a gallon, right? If we're looking for cups in a pint, we're just, I don't have my smart ink turned on here. Cups in a pint, what we're looking for is how many C's are inside of one pint. How many cups inside of one pint? 2, right? So we'll go back to here. We'll fill in 2 cups in 1 pint. Okay. Now for pints in a quart, we're going back to our chart here. And pints in a quart, we want to know how many pints, right, are inside of 1 quart. How many pints are inside of 1 quart? Gigi? There are 2. Okay, good. So go back here, 2 pints in a quart. And for quarts in a gallon, we go back. How many quarts are in a gallon? How many Q's inside the G, Alina? There are 4. Okay, 4 quarts in a gallon. So then back to the top one there, how many ounces in a cup? How many ounces in a cup? Connor?
10.
Not 10. Aiden?
8 ounces?
8 ounces in a cup. 16 ounces in a pound, 8 ounces in a cup.
Oh, it was 10. I was close.
You were close. Yes.
I said 10. I see the 0. I erased that.
It's okay. We can move on. Okay. All right. So those are the conversions. Those are the values that we're going to be using to go through this page here. And what I want you to do, I kind of set the first one up for you here as far as what your proportions should look like. And there's a little pattern that you're going to see develop here that can help you set these up yourself further on down the page. So to answer the question, how many seconds in 1 day? Okay. Notice our unit of seconds. We're going to start with that, and we're going to relate it to something, okay? Up here at the top, in this section here, it doesn't tell us how many seconds are in a day directly. We can get there by working through the units. So our first rate here says 60 seconds in 1 minute. We have to relate seconds to something, and we know there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, so that's going to be our first rate. 60 seconds in a minute. Okay, and here's the pattern. Your first step with these is going to be a scale factor. SF stands for scale factor. What did we do to 1 minute to get up to 60? What's our scale factor from 1 to 60? Aiden.
Times 60.
Multiply by 60. And what we know about scale factors is that we do it to both the denominators and the numerators. So we're going to then multiply 60 by 60, which is 3,600. Okay, so 3,600 seconds in 60 minutes. Why did we go up to 60 minutes? What does that do for us here? Aiden?
Well, the next one's an hour, and 60 minutes is equivalent to an hour.
Right. We have to work our way up from seconds to a day, which means we first have to go through how many seconds in a minute, how many minutes in an hour, how many hours in a day. So we started with a scale factor. Our next step here is a unit conversion. UC stands for unit conversion. We didn't do anything mathematical here other than say 60 minutes is equivalent to 1 hour. And what that allows us to say is that if there are 3,600 seconds in 60 minutes, that means there are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. In a unit conversion, the numerator doesn't change. Okay? It only changes when we have a scale factor, which comes next, right? What's the scale factor from 1 hour to 24 hours? Multiply by 24. And if we multiply our denominator by 24, what do we got to do to the numerator? Multiply by 24. So will a calculator be handy for this? Should you bring a calculator to the test with you? Yes, you should. Okay, so 3,600 times 24, you should get 86,400. Which means that there are 86,400 seconds in 24 hours. 86,400 seconds in 24 hours. And following our pattern here, we did scale factor, unit conversion, scale factor. What comes next? Unit conversion, which means does our numerator change? No, because we're just adjusting units. So, final answer, 86,400 seconds in one day. And we got there by building this. We kind of climbed the ladder a little bit, right? 60 seconds in a minute. We made 1 minute into 60, so we could then convert to hours. We made hours into 24, so we could then convert to days. But it's that pattern of scale factor, unit conversion, scale factor, unit conversion. Aiden.
So if I count to 1,800, this math class will be over.
1,800? Well, what's 45 times 60? That's 2,700. If you count to 2,700.
Well, we've already gone to like.
Oh, you were counting. Oh, you're doing real-time calculations. Yes, but don't do it out loud, please. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. Let's run through the next one. And me clearing this will clear the top table. So hopefully you've got that written down in your minds here. How many inches are in 2 yards? Okay. How many inches are in 2 yards? Well, we don't have a conversion directly from inches to yards up on the top. So we relate inches to what we know. What do we know? There are 12 inches in a foot. Okay, 12 inches in a foot. Our first step is a scale factor or unit conversion. Scale factor. Right? Our denominator is changing. 1 foot is not equal to 3 feet. We have to get there by a scale factor of multiplying by 3. Which means, because it's a scale factor, we also multiply our numerator by 3. So if there are 12 inches in a foot, we triple that. There are 36 inches in 3 feet. Since we just did a scale factor, what comes next? Same pattern as up above. Annika? Unit conversion. 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. Our denominator didn't change value-wise. It changed unit-wise, thus the unit conversion, but not the value. 3 feet is the same as 1 yard. So our denominator, our numerator, doesn't change because we did a unit conversion. The question is, how many inches are in 2 yards? So since we just did a unit conversion, what comes next? You should all be singing this out. Leah. SF, which doesn't stand for San Francisco. It stands for scale factor. Okay. One of those SFs on the margins maybe like write out SF equals scale factor. UC equals unit conversion. Because I would hate for you to be doing this on your own tonight and forget what SF stands for and what UC stands for. Okay. But a scale factor means that our value is changing here. We're going from 1 yard to 2. It gets doubled. So our numerator does change 36 times 2 is 72 inches. Okay? That's the process. Scale factor, unit conversion, scale factor, unit conversion, work your way up. Okay. Now I want to start for ourselves here. How many ounces are in 3 quarts? Since ounces is our first unit given, we want to relate that to something. Look at the chart up on top. What do we know about ounces? What do we know about ounces? Maggie? Okay. So 8, and the abbreviation for ounce is OZ. I don't know why. But 8 ounces in 1 cup. That's what we know. We want to build this to 3 quarts. So what comes first? Scale factor or unit conversion? Maggie? Scale factor. What are we going to go to here? What's going to be helpful for us? Yeah? Why? Because 2 cups is equal to what? Carly? Our next unit, right? 1 pint. If we go to 3 cups, that's not very helpful. We don't know what 3 cups is. Okay? We're going to go to 2 cups because 2 cups is going to lead us to our unit conversion, right? It's a scale factor, so we have to double the numerators as well. So 16 ounces in 2 cups, which leads us to our unit conversion, which means the value doesn't change here. As Carly said, our next unit up is a pint, which means that there are 16 ounces in 1 pint. After unit conversion comes a scale factor. What are we going up to? What do we know about pints? Take a look at your chart up on top. What do we know about pints? What? What's the next unit above pint? Quarts. How many pints in a quart? 2. So we want to have a scale factor to get us to 2 pints. And since we doubled our denominator, we're going to double our numerator as well. And there are 32 ounces in 2 pints. I should write this times 2 in here so you can see what we did here. Okay. After scale factor comes a unit conversion. We went to 2 pints because our next unit is quarts. Our value didn't change here. We just upped the unit, so our numerator doesn't change either. 32 ounces in 2 pints means there are 32 ounces in a quart. We're almost there because we want to know how many ounces are in 3 quarts. So following the pattern, scale factor, unit conversion, scale factor, unit conversion. Our last step is going to be another scale factor. Multiplying by 3 because we want to get from 1 quart up to 3 quarts. So our numerator gets multiplied by 3 as well. And 96 ounces in 3 quarts. Okay? So, your task is to work through the rest of finish CO43. You've got about 20 minutes of work time in class today. We can go over a couple more if you would like to. But both this page and the next one, all of CO43, homework for tomorrow. Okay? Pierce?
I have a question about it.
Well, the next one? Sure, we can go over it. What's your question?
About answer
Oh, you want to check and see if it's right? Okay, I will come around and check it out. Okay, so the last one on this page, your heart beats 80 times per minute. How many times does it beat in 13 years? You are going from minutes to years here. Climb that ladder. Okay. How many minutes are in a day? Looking at the second page now. How many ounces are in 1 quart? We actually kind of already answered that one, didn't we? Because we had to go from 1 quart to 3, so you kind of already have that answer done for you. How many cups are in a gallon? How many feet are in 12 yards? How many seconds in a year? How many ounces in 2 gallons? And then some more application stuff. A fabric, those of you that like to craft, a fabric costs 12 cents per inch, and you need 2 yards. How much will it cost? This one's kind of scary. There are 65 grams of sugar in a 20-ounce bottle of Coke. How many grams of sugar are in a gallon of Coke? Okay, so you're going from ounces to gallons. Questions on this? Comments, concerns, complaints, comments, congratulations, or criticisms? Aiden?
1,800 is 30 minutes, right?
I think so. Yes. Okay. Homework for tomorrow, the rest of CO43, that is how you math. Oof. Don't forget to like and subscribe, folks.